Elias Thorne was a man who curated his life like a museum exhibit. Every piece was chosen for its beauty, its value, and its ability to impress the onlooker. At 25, he had inherited his father's ailing shipping empire and, through a combination of ruthless business acumen and an almost predatory instinct for a deal, turned it into a global titan. At its helm, he needed a partner who was as polished and presentable as a new yacht. He found her in Amelia. Amelia was not a socialite, nor was she an heiress. She was a culinary student from a modest background whom he met at a charity gala. She was not the kind of woman who typically graced the society pages. She was soft, with a warm laugh that seemed to light up her round face, and a zest for life that was intoxicating. To Elias, at first, she was a novelty, a beautiful, bohemian spirit who didn't care for the trappings of his world. He courted her with whirlwind romance and a stunning diamond ring, and she, seeing the lonely, driven man beneath the corporate armor, fell in love with him. Their early marriage was a cocoon of happiness. Amelia filled their penthouse with the scent of simmering sauces and freshly baked bread. She was his sanctuary, the one person who didn't want his money, but just his time. But as Elias's empire grew, his obsession with public perception metastasized. He was invited to Davos, to the Met Gala, to the private islands of oligarchs. His name was on the lips of every financial journalist. And he began to see Amelia not as his sanctuary, but as a liability. Amelia loved food. She loved creating it and, in her own joyful way, consuming it. The stress of being married to a man who was constantly working and the loneliness of their empty penthouse led her to find more solace in her kitchen. She gained weight. It wasn't a sudden transformation, but a slow, gentle softening around her edges. To Elias, it was a catastrophe. He started to see the way people in their social circle looked at them. He imagined the snide whispers, the quick glances that lingered too long on her fuller frame. He convinced himself they were pitted, that he was seen as a man who had settled, who had lost some sort of status. The breaking point came just before their 5th anniversary. They were to host a massive party at their estate. Elias walked into the dining room where Amelia, beaming with excitement, was testing a new chocolate soufflé. She looked up, a smudge of flour on her cheek, her hair a little wild. She was radiantly happy. To Elias, she was an eyesore. He didn't yell. He was too controlled for that. He spoke in the cold, calm voice he used to fire a CEO. "Amelia, we need to talk." She saw the look on his face and the smile froze. "What is it, Eli?" "People are coming tonight. Important people. Investors. The press. I don't think it's a good idea for you to be there." The color drained from her face. "What do you mean? I'm your wife." "Yes," he said, the word dripping with a strange finality. "You are my wife. And I love you, I do. But this," he gestured vaguely at her whole being, "this is not the image this company, this family, needs to project. You're ashamed of me." It wasn't a question. It was a quiet, hollow confirmation of something she had been dreading for years. "I am practical. I have worked too hard to let this perception derail everything. You can stay in the West Wing. I'll have food sent up. You can go to the theater, anything. Just don't be seen tonight." That was the moment their marriage ended. Not with a bang, but with the crushing silence of a soufflé falling flat. She didn't scream or cry. Her face became a placid, unreadable mask. "For 5 years, I have been your rock, your solace, your cheerleader. And you're hiding me away like a dirty secret." "Amelia, please." "No, Elias. You've made it perfectly clear." She took off her diamond wedding ring and placed it on the table, next to the cooling soufflé. "I won't be your shameful secret. But I also won't give you the satisfaction of a messy divorce. I know you. You'll buy me out, have me sign an NDA, and I'll disappear. Fine. I'll take your money. But you can keep your ring. It looks heavy." The divorce was swift and clinical. A settlement was signed. The only stipulation in the NDA was that she could never speak about the nature of their marriage or its end. She moved to a small town in Tuscany, far from the glittering world of Elias Thorne. She bought a plot of land with a dilapidated farmhouse and used a portion of the settlement to rebuild it. She opened a small, rustic cooking school and a farm-to-table restaurant. She filled her new life with laughter, good food, and the simple satisfaction of creating something beautiful with her own 2 hands. Elias, meanwhile, moved on. He dated slender, elegant models and businesswomen who were perfect for the red carpet. He became a fixture in gossip columns, a perennial bachelor who was too busy for a serious relationship. He should have been happy. He had everything he'd ever wanted. His company was more profitable than ever. His name was synonymous with success. But the penthouse felt like a cold, empty museum. The food was always perfectly prepared and utterly tasteless. He'd look at his new, elegant partners, and their laughter seemed forced, their conversation a script. He would think of Amelia. Not the Amelia he had hidden away, but the one from the early days. The one who would run to greet him at the door, her face flushed with excitement. The one who would make him a simple grilled cheese sandwich at 2 a.m. and listen, truly listen, to his problems. He started to see her in reflections of himself. He saw his own shallowness. He saw the monstrous cruelty of his act. The regret began as a tiny sliver in his chest, an ache he could ignore. It grew into a festering wound that no amount of success could heal. 9 years after the divorce, his business required a trip to Europe. He was to meet with potential partners in Rome. He had a free weekend, and the aching need to find Amelia had become an obsession. He had never completely lost track of her. A private investigator, hired out of a morbid curiosity years ago, had given him a simple file. She was running a cooking school in a small Tuscan village. He rented a sleek, black Maserati and drove into the hills. The village was a picturesque collection of terracotta roofs and winding cobblestone streets. He found her restaurant, a simple place called La Dolce Vita, with a small terrace overlooking a vineyard. He felt his heart hammer against his ribs, a sensation he hadn't felt in years. He saw her through the open kitchen window. She was moving with a practiced, joyful rhythm, a wooden spoon in one hand, a sprig of rosemary in the other. She was not the same woman. She was fuller still, her curves more pronounced, but she moved with a confidence and strength that was magnificent. Her hair was streaked with silver and tied back carelessly. A man, a local farmer with strong arms and a kind face, was chopping vegetables beside her. He said something that made her throw her head back and laugh, that same warm, genuine laugh that Elias remembered. It was a sound of pure, unadulterated happiness. Elias felt a sharp, searing pain, a jealousy so potent it almost buckled his knees. That laugh was his. It was supposed to be his. He watched her all afternoon. He saw her greet guests, her face glowing. He saw the way the farmer touched her back gently, the easy intimacy of their partnership. He saw the life that was thriving without him. Later that evening, as the restaurant was closing, he saw the farmer leave in his truck, pressing a kiss to Amelia's temple. Elias approached the door. He felt like a ghost haunting his own past. Amelia was wiping down a table. She looked up, a polite, "I'm sorry, we're closed," ready on her lips. The words died when she saw him. The silence stretched between them, thick and heavy. He looked older, more drawn. His custom-tailored suit was completely out of place in the rustic setting. "Amelia," he began, his voice hoarse. "You look incredible." She straightened up, wiping her hands on her apron. There was no surprise in her eyes, only a weary, guarded calm. "Elias, what are you doing here?" "I had to see you." He took a step closer. "I had to tell you. I was wrong. I've been wrong for years. I was a fool, a cruel, shallow fool." She waited, her expression unreadable. "Leaving you," he continued, the words tumbling out in a rush. "Hiding you away. That was the worst mistake of my life. I have been miserable. I've had everything, and I've had nothing. You were the only real thing I ever had, and I threw you away for a magazine cover. I still love you, Amelia. I never stopped." He reached out to touch her arm. She flinched and stepped back, her calm demeanor cracking for a moment to reveal a flash of deep-seated pain. "You love me," she said, her voice low. "You don't love me, Elias. You love the memory of a woman who worshipped you. You love the idea of finding a doormat who would make you feel good about yourself again. But that woman is gone. You killed her 9 years ago when you looked at her, the woman who loved you with all her heart and saw only something ugly." "I've changed," he pleaded. "I've spent every day since regretting it." "Good," she said, her voice hardening. You should. You should wake up every morning and feel that shame. It's a pittance compared to what you made me feel." She pointed a finger at him, and the dam finally broke. "You made me feel like a monster, Elias. You took my joy, my confidence, my sense of self-worth, and you tossed it in the trash because you were too vain to stand next to a woman who wasn't a size 2. You didn't just divorce me. You erased me. You made me invisible. And you know what? That was the best gift you ever gave me. Because in my invisibility, I found me. The real me. Not the trophy wife you wanted, not the arm candy you were ashamed of. Me." She gestured around the warm, homely restaurant. "This is my life now. It's not big or famous, but it's real. And in here, I am loved. Not for what I look like, but for who I am. The man you saw, Paolo, he loves every single one of these curves. He thinks I'm beautiful. He tells me every day." Elias felt the world tilt. The hope he had clung to for the drive up evaporated, replaced by a bottomless pit of despair. "Please, Amelia, just give me a chance to make it right." She shook her head, a sad, definitive finality in her eyes. "Make it right," she whispered. "There is no right anymore, Elias. There is no us. There never was, really. There was just a man who loved a woman for a while, and then decided she wasn't good enough for his life. You made your choice. And I made mine." She walked to the door and held it open. "It's a long drive back to Rome. You should go. And please don't come back. There's nothing for you here. The only thing you can ever give me now is the peace of knowing you finally let me go." Elias walked out into the cool Tuscan night. He didn't see the stars or the vines. He just saw the closed door behind him. He heard the lock click, a final, irrevocable sound. He had come searching for a buried treasure, hoping to reclaim a prize he had foolishly discarded. He found instead that the treasure was not lost. It had simply grown roots, built a home, and found a new guardian. He was not the thief returning to reclaim his bounty. He was just a trespasser, a ghost from a past that no longer existed, sent back to the lonely, cold world he had so carefully curated for himself. And in that moment, Elias Thorne, the billionaire who had everything, understood the true cost of his shame. It wasn't a price in dollars. It was the eternal, bankrupting cost of a love he had traded for a lie.